Scenic beauty exists everywhere on this earth. You just need to look. Often, the places you'd never think of finding it turn out to be the landscapes you never forget. Places that will forever draw you back. For us, the Owens Valley of California is a place like this. A place that is welcoming and familiar, but reveals something new each time we look into camera.
That was a worthy morning. That was pretty awesome.
From the rugged hills that frame the highest point in the lower 48, to odd works sculptured by time, to a place where the oldest living things on this planet have gathered. A road trip through the Owens Valley is so much more than a drive on Highway 395. You just need to look. When you travel, the world becomes a smaller place. When you explore with friends that share a love of photography, destinations come to life. We tell the stories of travel with our cameras, capturing some of the most beautiful locations on Earth. But every adventure reveals more than what's in the frame. The people, the food, and unexpected turns of the journey bring the full experience of travel into focus.
Production funding for Outside Beyond the Lens provided by the Fresno Clovis Convention and Visitors Bureau. Nature, diversity, found in the heart of California's San Joaquin Valley. Fresno County, an outside year-round playground. By Gar Titillion, crop care advice, products, and services. Farms feed families, public television feeds minds. By BK Lighting and Tekka Illumination, helping brighten the world with custom landscape and architectural lighting solutions. By Integrated Agribusiness Professionals, members building healthy families and communities to feed your heart and soul. And by Valley Air Conditioning and Repair, family-owned for 50 years, proud to support Outside Beyond the Lens and the wonders of travel. And by viewers like you.
All of these places were filmed on one road trip, over 3 days, while taking a drive through one of our favorite places to shoot. Owens Valley is a 75-mile-long track framed on either side by 14,000-foot peaks, making it one of the deepest valleys in the United States. Its arid environment and rugged desert beauty, dotted with friendly towns along Highway 395, make this a popular drive for people who want to escape the crowds of the busy national parks found on the Sierra's western slope. It's a trip we've made many times before, but this time we've decided to mix things up. Okay, so we are just now entering the Kern River Valley on Highway 178. We've taken Highway 99 south from Fresno, Clovis area where we live to start this adventure. Drove down to basically Bakersfield is where you drive to, and then you cut over on 178 and you see this big notch in the ground, and you'll notice I got a little crazy right there. This road is gnarly. It's very, very narrow. The Kern River is a deep gorge that cuts through the foothills, and there's a lot of locals that live around here that apparently like to drive. They know the road well. Let's just put it that way. They know the road well. We're in the battle van. I've got David Boomer and Zack Allen, who doesn't normally, he's not a regular shooter with us. We like when Zack comes with us, right, Dave?
Yeah, love it.
Zack's on board. He's doing a great job. Zack's been shooting some cool stuff. And I think this might be a good time to put onto the screen right now a couple of shots that Zack took on a trip to Iceland recently that he did. And Zack went to Iceland by himself to just bone up on his shooting skills. Zack's been with me for a long time, working on a lot of different TV shows as a sound person, but now he's turned into this great shooter, so we're excited to have him along on the journey today. The whole plan for this episode is to basically show off the Owens Valley of California. This is a beautiful valley that runs on the eastern side of the Sierra Nevada mountain range. We're going to drive up Highway 395 from south to north. Typically what a lot of people do on this route is they'll take 99 south through the valley, or they'll come up from Southern California to 395 and head for Lone Pine and go north that way. We're going to cut through the Kern River Valley, and we're going to go by Lake Isabella, the little town of Onyx, and we're going to pop out just south of Lone Pine and go up from there. After climbing through the narrow Kern River Gorge, we come to Lake Isabella, about an hour-long drive east of Bakersfield. Fall has settled into the lower foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains, and the low angle of the November sun casts long shadows over the quiet waters of the lake. This man-made reservoir is a happening spot during summer, but now, as it empties prior to the winter rains and snow about to return, Lake Isabella is a peaceful place to capture a few shots before we continue on towards Owens Valley. Higher up Route 178, near the crest of Walker Pass, the scenery coaxes us to pull over once again. Here, desert sage and cottonwood trees in the canyon catch the setting sun. At nearly 5,000 feet in elevation, this route closes when strong winter storms hit. But on a warm, late fall day like today, this is a really nice way to try something different than the route we would have normally taken over Highway 58 and the Tehachapi Pass further south. After descending Walker Pass on the eastern side of the Sierra, we link back up with Highway 395 just outside of Ridgecrest, California. From here, we head north towards our destination for the night, the Alabama Hills above Lone Pine. In 1845, the American explorer John C. Fremont named Owens Valley, river, and lake after one of his guides, Richard Owens, who was also a close friend of Kit Carson. All right, so we are now northbound 395 here in the Owens Valley. We're just getting into the town of Lone Pine here at sunset. We're shooting this episode in November. It's about 4:15. Sun's going down. We're actually right now right below Mount Whitney, the tallest point in the lower 48 United States. Lone Pine is the main gateway town for people wanting to climb the tallest mountain in the lower 48 states, Mount Whitney. The eastern approach to climbing Mount Whitney is the most popular, and Lone Pine is home to some great eateries, hotels, and places to stock up on supplies. With the sun now long gone behind the Sierra Nevada range, Mount Whitney and its prominent neighbor Lone Pine Peak exit the stage as shadow falls over the range. But below, in the Alabama hills, the landscape paparazzi is in place, ready for another sunrise and another show to begin. to Alabama Hills to shoot sunrise on Mount Whitney, waiting for the actual sunrise means you'll miss half the magic. Even for me, someone who is a chronic early riser, I got up too late. The soft pink pastels of a time period known as blue hour in photography, just before or just after the actual sun rises or sets, is in some ways better than when everything lights up here. It's time to kick these tents and get the cameras up. This part of the Owens Valley is a mecca for landscape photographers. The Alabama Hills, just below the Whitney group of high peaks, contrasts with the desert scenery in a way that is pretty unique. There just aren't a lot of places in the world that actually look like this. It's one of the reasons the Alabama Hills has been a long-time go-to location for Hollywood. Over 300 films and even more TV commercials and TV shows have been filmed in these hills. From How the West Was Won and Gunga Din in the 1930s to more modern films like Gladiator and Iron Man have all used this stunning backdrop to represent different destinations around the world. It's also a very easy place to drive in and camp. Only a few minutes from the town of Lone Pine and mostly BLM land, freedom camping is permitted pretty much anywhere, with many top-notch campsites scattered throughout the hills, and most with commanding views of Whitney, Lone Pine Peak, and the High Sierra. There's definitely a sweet spot for timing to shoot in. From daybreak to about an hour after the sun peers over the Inyo Mountains to the east, this can be a really fun place to capture memorable images of a location where desert and alpine peaks collide. Well, we had a good morning. Zach's getting rehydrated.
And recover from that climb.
After your climb, I sent Zach up to the top of a pretty cool little rocky nub to get some cool scale shots. What a cool morning this was, right? I mean, what's cool about Alabama Hills, there's a lot of cool things about Alabama Hills, but you're right below Mount Whitney, you're right below Lone Pine Peak, there's big, majestic High Sierra peaks here in California, and in the morning you get that daybreak, that first blue light that kind of hits the crest.
Yeah, they call it blue hour, but it was more like pink hour.
It was pink hour because, like as you can see from the footage, I mean, I woke up, opened the van up, and just looked out and went, "Oh my God!" And I yelled at Zach. I was like, "Zach, get up! You got to see this." And
I was snoring.
You were snoring pretty loud, actually. But you get this like really muted pastel pink off the white Sierra granite, and then you have this like different rock down here in the Alabama Hills. So it's really pretty. And then it goes sort of mute for a while until the actual sun rays hit it.
Yeah.
What'd you see then?
Well, then it turns into fire. It's just like the pink turns to gold, and I'm scrambling or get a different camera to turn around and get that going to capture that instead. And it's like, oh.
The drive north from Lone Pine up 395 never gets old. The High Sierra peaks to the left and the Inyo Mountains to the right will make it a challenge to keep your eyes where they need to be on the road. You'll pass through some quaint and historic towns about every 20 miles or so, places like Independence and Bishop. And there are countless side excursions to be found by taking the dirt roads that wind up into the Sierra's east side escarpment. But here in the town of Big Pine, we're taking a right to travel east on Highway 168 that slowly climbs a massive glacial moraine into the mighty White Mountains, where a special grove of trees are found. Trees that are the oldest living things on this earth and are only found in this one location. From Big Pine, the drive up takes about an hour. Near the top of the drive, as we go above 10,000 feet in elevation, the air gets thin, but the views of the Sierra and the Owens Valley below get better and better. The fairly good-sized town of Bishop can be seen from way up here, and to have an eye-to-eye perspective of the Eastern Sierra like this is a pretty special way to view this iconic California mountain range. Just a few miles further up the road, approaching 11,000 feet in elevation, we arrive at the ancient Bristlecone Pine Forest Visitor Center, where a mix of limber pine and the star attraction bristlecone pines dot the moon-like landscape. A small network of trails will lead you through the grove for a close-up look at these hardy, scraggly trees. As far as trees go, they're not necessarily the prettiest ones you'll see. They're not impressively large or symmetrically perfect, but to touch something that's been alive on this earth since the Egyptian pyramids were built, and 2,500 years before the birth of Christianity, is humbling if you let it in. All right, I'm at the base of a toppled over giant dead bristlecone. This bristlecone pine died 3,200 years ago. What's amazing about bristlecones is that they grow so slowly that you can actually have 100 years worth of growth rings inside 1 inch of space on the tree. It's also crazy to think as you're sitting here, you're looking out at a forest that's at over 10,000 feet. We're above 10,000 feet. We're just a little over 10,000 feet elevation here in the White Mountains of California. And nothing else is alive up here except these bristlecones. The trees that you're looking at right now are the oldest living organisms on Earth. Because of its remote location and high altitude, ancient bristlecone pine forest doesn't see huge crowds in the summer. In the winter, the road here can be closed temporarily due to snow, and all year long, it's a place sought out by travelers from all over the world.
What was really cheering in my case, it was that there's a lot of really small saplings all around the place, especially there in the Patriarch Grove. And there are lots of young trees, and I hope that the climate doesn't change that much, so they can grow as old as the other trees around the place.
A hike through this grove will lead you near one tree in particular called the Methuselah tree. It is known as the one living tree on Earth with the oldest confirmed age, 4,851 years to be exact. The tree isn't marked to protect it from vandals. Many of the trees here are more than 3,000 years old. Back down on the Owens Valley floor and headed north again, we pass wide open cattle ranches and more breathtaking views of the Sierra as we head past the popular ski town of Mammoth on our way to camp on the shores of Mono Lake. Mono Lake is a massive closed basin lake, meaning it has no natural outflow, no rivers or creeks that leave it. It was formed about 800,000 years ago as volcanic activity in this area was really getting with it, and the Sierra Nevada mountains were coming into their own. Signs of the volcanic nature of this area are clearly visible today and have made for a nice place to camp about a mile up from Mono Lake's south shore. Okay, so now here's where we are. We've landed at Mono Lake. So we're at Mono Lake just below Lee Vining. The little town of Lee Vining's off in the distance there. And then the back door to Yosemite is kind of up the 120 notches through there through Tioga, okay? So what we've done is we just kind of started cruising around. We were looking for a little disbursement camping spot. Mono Lake has these great little sandy spots. There's a little bit of ponderosa pine tree thing going on here. We got the lake, we got a almost full moon, and we're gonna do some time lapse tonight, some star lapse stuff, and we found a pretty good spot.
It's a great spot.
This is great.
Best part is like there's nobody. There's nobody else here. It's quiet. It's pretty. And it's not freezing. So that's good.
Taking the battle van on road trips with the guys is always a good time. But for those out there wondering, it's a little too cozy to sleep all three of us inside. The sandy ground here and wind protection from these ponderosa pines makes this a perfect place to pitch a couple tents and settle in for the night. A crystal clear sky and full moon above Mono Lake at the northern end of Owens Valley in California. It's much colder tonight up here than down in the Alabama hills the night before, so the fire not only is a nice scene setter, it also feels really good. It's also a good night to experiment with some night photography. Using only the full moon and fire glow, we play around with some long exposures and settings on the cameras to capture the moment. The sun is a welcome sight and feeling the next morning as temps drop to around 17 degrees overnight. And as things warm up around camp, the critters of the high desert come to life. A group of yellow pine chipmunks scurries around in search of food, knowing that the long, cold, and snowy nights of winter are close. Mono Lake is massive. From satellite imagery like this, it's easily seen. But today, it's only a shadow of its former self. In the 1970s, the city of Los Angeles began to divert water from the creeks that feed Mono Lake with snowmelt, and the lake level dropped significantly. When it did, it revealed the geothermic sculptures that had been slowly created below the water surface over time. They are known as Tufa Towers.
You have the ability as a Californian to witness what Salt Lake City's like without having to drive so far. You got the Salt Lake here, and it's really interesting. For a photographer, it's actually kind of cool. I can just imagine being out here in the evening, you know, twilight, getting some great reflection shots with the rocks in the foreground, and there's tons of spots around here, and seems to be great for the family to come out with their kids. There's plenty of trails to go around, and some nice sights and good weather.
We ran this road trip by camping out overnight, but there are many places to stay, eat, and explore if that's more your speed. Owens Valley is one of those destinations that even longtime California residents and natives in general have never seen. It takes a little effort to get here, but if you've got the time, a good travel buddy or two, and you're ready to explore something different and new, while putting yourself in some of the best landscape photography settings in the world, then a road trip through California's Owens Valley should be on your short list of things to do next.
Production funding for Outside Beyond the Lens provided by the Fresno Clovis Convention and Visitors Bureau. Nature, diversity, found in the heart of California's San Joaquin Valley. Fresno County, an outside year-round playground. By Gar Titillion, crop care advice, products, and services. Farms feed families, public television feeds minds. By BK Lighting and Tekka Illumination, helping brighten the world with custom landscape and architectural lighting solutions. By Integrated Agribusiness Professionals, members building healthy families and communities to feed your heart and soul. And by Valley Air Conditioning and Repair, family-owned for 50 years, proud to support Outside Beyond the Lens and the wonders of travel. And by viewers like you.